This is a global original podcast. Hello, my name is Gordon Glenister. Welcome to Influence, the global podcast that shines a spotlight on the influencer marketing industry. I'm the co-founder of BCMA Influence, which is a professional membership association that represents the influencer marketing industry. And my objective is to interview some of the most interesting people in the world of influencer marketing. And in the next 30 minutes, get real insights, ideas and tips to help you better understand the fascinating world of influence. So a big shout out to our lovely friends at Beazley Insurance who have kindly sponsored this episode and who specialise in all sorts of media insurance, especially for influencers. You can find out more at www.beazley.com, or if you're an influencer here in the UK, www.assuredsocial.com. On today's show, I have the pleasure in welcoming the multi-talented content creator Amber Doig-Thorne. And we're going to be discussing loads of interesting things about her life as a content creator, the ups and downs, and hearing some of the campaigns she's been involved in. Amber is an actress and presenter, and she's had the privilege to interview some pretty cool people, I have to say, in her time, including Arnold Schwarzenegger, Linda Hamilton, and loads of others. But we want to hear what it's like to be a content creator, so naturally I was keen to find out how she started out.
So I'm one of those weird people where I don't have one niche. I never really have. I started off 3 years ago doing mainly comedy videos, and that's kind of been the main pillar of my content. But over the last few years, I've branched out into doing fashion. Film is another big one. Food, travel, lifestyle, beauty. Oh my goodness, so many different things. I would say that comedy, film, and lifestyle are probably like the main pillars of my content, as I was saying. But yeah, I think a lot of people do feel like they need to have a niche. And I do agree with that to a certain extent. But I've been very fortunate in the fact that I think once you have built a following, people then start to follow you for your personality rather than, oh, well, she's doing beauty, so I want to follow her. And I think once you're lucky enough to get to that stage, you can then branch out and do a few different things. So I think I've kind of struck lucky with that one.
Yeah, that's quite an interesting point you make there. I think there's a lot said about influencer marketing and niche down. And I can see how successful people are in those areas. But what you've effectively said is you might start in a particular genre, and as people get to know you and want to see more of you, then in a way it's much more easier for you to explore that.
100%. Yeah, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't recommend starting being an influencer with like 20 niches. Don't do that. That will just be incredibly complicated. I think if you figure out what you want to do initially, and then, as I said, once you've grown a following, that's when people like you for being you, and then you can pretty much do what you want, in my opinion, anyway.
No, I agree, and I think authenticity is everything, isn't it? And I know
it really is.
It's what it's all about. So when did you start sort of entering the influencer space? How long ago was that? Yeah,
so it was about 3.5 years ago now. It was really, really strange. And whenever I get asked this question, I think people expect me to have like a 10-step plan and here's how I did it. It was really weird for me because from my first day, from basically creating my Facebook page and my Instagram, it was my full-time job, which is very, very strange. So for me, how it worked, it was never anything that I really planned. Like, God, when I was at university is when it started in the last 6 months of uni. And I just started creating these like comedy videos with a friend, and they went insanely viral. Like, I think we had 1 billion views in 6 months, which even now, 3 years later, my brain can't comprehend. Like, each video was getting like 100 million views. It was ridiculous. This was on Facebook, and it was all on his page, and I just tagged my Facebook profile. And by the time I graduated, so this was in January that we started, 2016. And by August, when I graduated, I had about 500,000 followers on Facebook. Didn't have Instagram, YouTube, anything like that. And the day that I graduated, because I studied theoretical physics, I was planning on going into banking. My life plan was always do theoretical physics, go into banking, work my bum off for like 5 years as a trader, and then like retire and fund myself to go through drama school to be an actor. So this kind of turned everything on its head. And yeah, the day I graduated, I had to sit down with my parents, and I was like, so this influencer thing, like, should I give it a go? And it was my dad who said, yeah, he was like, just make a YouTube page, make a Facebook, try it for a year. If it doesn't work, like, still go into banking. So I made like all of the different social medias, all of them, like Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok, everything. And yeah, it's just been non-stop since then. I can't believe how quickly it kind of took off. I wasn't expecting that at all.
But that's because presumably you didn't think about becoming an influencer. It was almost organic, and you'd already got a following. So in a way, brands wanted to connect with you because you've got a ready-made audience, and that's half the battle. So tell me a little bit about some of the campaigns that you've worked on.
I was trying to make a list earlier, and I was like, because it's been 3.5 years now, there's an awful lot. Like, I couldn't tell you on a monthly basis. It probably varies from 1 a week to like 4 a week, depending how busy it is. A lot of the campaigns that I've done have been either food and drink, travel, or film. So I did make a list because I thought I don't want to forget any. So for film, there are 2 campaigns that really stood out for me. The main one was Charlie's Angels, the like all-female recreation that was released last year. So this was pretty cool. And I think this is one of the nice things about being an influencer and an actress. So Sony reached out to me in November 2018, I think it was, and said, hey, you know, we're filming this new Charlie's Angels film. Do you want to fly out to Germany for like 24 hours, be an extra in the film, meet the angels, you know, have a chat with Elizabeth Banks? And I was like, I'm already on the way to the airport, you know, I'm ready. It was just an amazing experience, like getting to meet Naomi Scott, Kristen Stewart. It was just incredible. And so I did content for like my Facebook, my Instagram stories. The YouTube video is probably one of my favorite videos of all time, just because it was so much fun to film and it was such an awesome experience. And I really feel like you can see that through the video. I tried to control my excitement, but I couldn't control it. I think another film one was for Maze Runner. So this was Fox, when Fox was still around. 20th Century Fox sent me out to South Africa for a couple of days, again, to be in the film and have a chat with the cast. Which, like, oh my goodness, I read those books as a teenager. I love the film, so that was kind of like a dream come true. That was a lot of fun. Again, that was like content for all of my channels. And then when the film was released, I interviewed the director, Wes Ball, because I do a lot of celebrity interviews as well. So that's kind of a nice, like, tying the knot on the edge of that campaign. That was cool. Otherwise, I'm trying to just give you like 5 main ones. I'm like, how do I summarize 3.5 years in like a minute?
And these are all so these are all people that are approaching you.
Yeah. So I'd say 99% of the brand deals that I've done have been brands approaching me. I do reach out to brands. Obviously, I think it's really important for influencers to be proactive, take control, and actively reach out. Don't spam people. Like, every email I send, it's targeted and it's personalized. Because I've seen people send out bulk emails to like 100 people. Like, they'll email themselves and BCC and brands. And they're like, dear sir, madam, I would like to work with you. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, no, don't do that. No. And it's a common pitfall that people fall into, and it frustrates me. So that's getting a bit diverted here. But yeah, that's one of my key things, personalize those emails. I'll say about 2 more campaigns quickly. So one of them was a travel one. Since I was a child, I've always loved traveling, and I kind of just fell into that niche a little bit. So whenever I was traveling with work, I thought, you know what, I'll just throw up a vlog, and people really seem to enjoy it. So it was last year. So I've got about 288,000 followers on TikTok. Which used to be Musical.ly back in the day. And oh my goodness, I love the app so much. It's so much fun. And in August, TikTok contacted me and said, we've got this brand deal with the Tourism Authority of Thailand. Do you want to work with them? And I remember saying, the country of Thailand wants to work with me. I'm sorry, what? Like, I've never worked with a country before. This is crazy. And yet it was the most incredible 2 weeks of my life. So they took me and my mum. They're like, you can have a +1. And I thought, well, my mum wants to go to Thailand. She's kind of my videographer, so I took her with me. And it was just day after day of these amazing activities, meeting amazing people. And I think one of the reasons I love that campaign is because it was so open creatively. There wasn't any minimum number of posts. They were like, here's what we'd like you to do. And here's some very vague messaging. But we want to make it you. We don't want to say, you know, pose in front of a poster or say this or say this. Just document how much fun you're having on this trip. And I remember one of the first videos that I posted, I think today, was it today? No, it was a podcast that I had last week, and they asked me to check it. It's on like 3.2 million views. And that's got all of the campaign hashtags on. And I was like, that just goes to show that when you use organic content that you're genuinely passionate about, you know, it shines through. So I can tell you about some more: food, drink, Fanta, Coca-Cola, but those are like my favorite ones, I think.
That's really, really good. And it's nice you mentioned, again, we mentioned the word authenticity, and where brands are leaving it to the creators to be themselves. Yeah. I think it's certainly one of the issues that cropped up time and time again, where influencers, content creators are just used as a media asset, and they're missing a trick, aren't they? So often.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think you've really hit the nail on the head there. I think the issue that I've had sometimes is, I'm sure you've seen these advertisements on Instagram where it's a girl holding up a bag of tea saying, here is some tea that will make you lose weight. And I just think, I will never in my life do one of those advertisements. And it's not going to work for the brand. It's just not going to work. For the influence, it's probably going to drop their engagement. People aren't going to like it. And it isn't going to result in any click-throughs for the brand. It's just not what people want to see. Whereas, say I post a video and I'm like, here's my daily routine. And at the beginning, I happen to be using this tea and they can tell I'm passionate about it. Like, if that was me watching that video, I'd think, oh, okay, so this doesn't, even if it is an advertisement, which obviously you have to disclose, it's different. It's just making it organic. And I do think that it's taking a while for brands to understand that, because if you think about it, as I was saying earlier, normally they do TV campaigns where they have like 100% control on everything creatively. But we've built our following as influencers and we know what our audience want. So I think giving the influencers creative control, like, it's beneficial for the brand because we know the best way to put that product across to our audience and what's most likely going to result in click-throughs and sales,
And that's where I think it's the reason why the word collaboration is used so often, because that's exactly what it is, isn't
Exactly.
it? It's understanding. It's what are you both trying to get out of this campaign. Just before we move on, what do you like when you see these inbound emails? What is it that resonates with you that you say yes? Or equally, what is it you say no?
Okay, this is like my favorite question because not enough people ask this, and I'm like, this is so important. So don't get me wrong, I have turned down my fair share of brand deals. The main thing for me is normally if it's not something that rings true to me. So if a brand comes to me and it's something I've not used or I just don't believe in or something like that, I will always have a conversation with them because I just think that's the polite thing to do. Probably a British thing. I'm like, I just need to talk to them. And we'll come to some arrangement and I'll maybe forward them someone who would be more suited to them, or I just politely decline. And yeah, it's normally either, as I've said, it's a product that just doesn't align with my brand, or they'll email you sometimes and say, right, so we have like $10 for a 10-minute YouTube video. It will take you, 4 days to film and edit, and we want the product shown the whole way through, but yeah, here's $10. And I'm like, I'm okay, thank you. And it gets worse. Normally those ones, there's also, here's the script for you to read. And I think the three main points that put me off, one is when they basically say, here's a script, no creative control, you do exactly as we want, they're just not respecting you as a person or a creator. Two, as I've said, if it's not in line with your brand. And of course, I mean, not everything is about money, but the same as in any job, you wouldn't work for like 10p an hour. It's probably like 1p an hour, the amount of hours that it takes to do a YouTube video for $10. So I'd say those two are the most important. And then if I'm comfortable with the first two, I'll have a look at the rate and think, right, would this fairly compensate me for my time, the editing, the production value, all of this? If so, then I'm happy. Ones where I see a brief and I immediately think yes, it's when a brand is really open and they say, look, here's what we think. What do you want to do? How would you like to turn this around to fit your channel? We've looked at your channel and we love this, this, and this, and we thought maybe you could do this. Like, it shows that they've researched you. They genuinely, again, like influencers send out bulk emails. So do brands sometimes. Now just say, we love your content. Do you want to do this? And you can tell they don't know who you are. They've never watched like an Instagram or a Facebook video or been on your YouTube channel. So I think personalizing emails to that extent for me really stands out. And whenever I get one of those emails, even if it's a brand that I'm not 100% keen on, it tempts me to work with them because I think, they have that personal touch, which you don't really see from a lot of brands nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I think is quite interesting is that more brands should take an interest and build this personal relationship. But before they've done that and reached out to you, perhaps they should like some of your posts, comment on that, and get to know you before they've even taken the time to send you an email. So that not only that shows you that they're on your radar already, and I just think, I mean, I've come from a relationship business background, and I think that's so true. And from when I start to speak to people, they say that it's those that have a strong relationship are the ones we want to work with.
Yeah, no, I mean, that sounds fantastic. Sorry to cut in, you just said it. And I was like, I don't think a brand's ever done that, but if someone did, even before they reached out, if I saw they were liking my stuff, I'd probably reach out to them first. So that's a very fun move, yeah.
Oh, that's good. That's good. What are the sorts of things that irritate you about influencer marketing? What are the things that get on your goat?
It's difficult, but I have to say the one bee in my bonnet is gifting. Oh my goodness, the amount of conversations that I've had about gifting. I'd say 50% of the emails that I get are about gifting. And in an advertorial sense, you either have gifting where someone gives you a product and it's completely genuine, and a brand will say, and this is according to like ASA's guidelines, if a brand sends you a gift and they don't give you any hashtags, they don't say you have to send it to us for approval, or you have to tag us or anything, then it's a genuine gift and you choose if you want to actually post anything. That is gifting in the purest sense, and that I'm totally okay with. The problem is, as soon as brands say, oh, here, we want to gift you something worth $10 for an Instagram post worth $1,000, you think, right, okay, well, if I get the product and then it is a true gift and I can choose if I want to post it, because people have sent me stuff worth like £5, but if it's something I really love, of course I'm going to share it because my followers want to see what I enjoy. And yeah, they'll say, okay, so here's something for $10. And yeah, here's what you need to write in your caption. And you need to send us 3 different videos for approval. And you need to give us usage for 6 months. And we need to include these hashtags. And you need to share this. And I just think that's ridiculous. Think of it this way, right? In England, I think the national minimum wage is like £8 for 1 hour. So they're basically giving you 1 hour's wage. Like usage alone for 6 months is hundreds, if not thousands of pounds. Like the amount of time it goes into this production, to me, it is insulting. And it happens a lot of the time. And I used to respond a lot when I was first starting out. And I think everyone does when they're first starting out. You think, oh, free stuff. This is exciting. They want to work with me. Okay. And a lot of brands come with this promise of, oh, just do a few free things and then we'll start paying you. And I fell into that trap. And I thought, okay, great. Even like, I'm not going to name names, but very, very big brands. And, you know, once you've done like the 9th or the 10th free post, you start to think, no, they never had any intention of paying me. And I think that's what you need to be careful of. When people are starting out, I'd say do go for the gifting thing, because for me, it helps me. Like now I write my own contracts and I know exactly what to put in it. And a lot of that is actually not from the paid campaigns, but from the gifted campaigns where something's gone wrong. Or I've just learned so much. So for me, it's definitely valuable having been through that. And now I appreciate my worth so much more. But yeah, I would say gifting is definitely my biggest niggle, I have to say.
The reason I mention it, I just wondered whether or not you thought that influencers charge enough, or whether there is disparity amongst some that just don't know what their value is.
So this is very, very interesting. And recently someone created an Instagram account called the Influencer Pay Gap. And before that, I'd always been told that I undercharge. And my mentality was, well, say that this is what people with my following, my engagement charge. If I undercut them and charge less, then technically that should be more appealing, just a business move, should be more appealing to brands. They're getting the exact same, but for slightly less. I don't mind taking that decrease in wage, because surely it should result in more brand deals. And that's what I've been doing for the last 3 years, and I've been perfectly happy. I have worked with some brands where it will be ridiculous, the amount that they ask. I've been offered £5 for a TikTok video. A little bit too small there. Yeah, it's a really, really strange one. And this Instagram account is wonderful, because what they're doing is they're asking influencers to submit anonymously, just saying where they live. So it's either the UK or the US, the amount of followers that they have, their engagement rate, and the most and the least that they've been paid for a campaign. Now, personally, I talk to my influencer friends occasionally about payment, just if I think, oh, that's a bit low. Is this okay? But in general, it's kind of like this unspoken thing. You just don't talk about what you get paid. And for the first time ever now, people are actually seeing what people are getting paid. And honestly, I must have spent, sad to say this, I must have spent a good 3 hours the other day going through all of the posts on this account. And I just sat back and had this realization that I've been massively undercharging for the last 3 years. So people with like the same amount of followers that I have on Instagram with a lower engagement rate were regularly charging 3 times what I was, and brands were paying it. And I remember just having this kind of epiphany, being like, wow, for that long, I've undervalued myself. And now I've had this realization. And that was the day as well when I thought, no, you know what, I'm going to stop accepting gifting campaigns, because this is when there was one girl, I don't know how on earth this happened. She had 1 million followers and she'd never been paid. She'd only ever had like gifting opportunities with good engagement and 1 million followers. And I was sat there like, okay, so if I'm undervaluing myself, like how on earth must she feel seeing this? So I think it's a tricky one. In general, before I'd seen this Instagram page, I would have said, oh, I think we're charging a fair amount. Now I've realized a lot of us are undercharging. Now, don't get me wrong, there are people that overcharge, and there's management companies that definitely take advantage of that, where they say, oh, £50,000 for a YouTube video. I'm like, that's a car. Like that's a small house, you know, that's ridiculous. But I do think that a lot of the time brands don't realize, for example, not even brands, just members of the public. Like if I said, oh, I've got so for example, this Coca-Cola campaign that I did last Christmas. So it was one Instagram post, which was just a photo, and I think it was 7 or 8 story slides. Now, if you say that to a normal member of the public who doesn't have a background in marketing or influence marketing or understands social media, they'd say, oh, what would you charge, like £100? But I think I have 370,000 followers. And people are like, oh, well, actually, no, you can't really charge the it's just a photo. And I think, okay, so on that day, I had to get up at 5 a.m. to beat the queues to get to this Coca-Cola truck. I was there for 4 hours queuing because they were meant to push us to the front before the queue got there. This was not Coca-Cola, by the way. Like, they were fantastic to work with. I think this was one of the agencies. And it was just, in total, it was about 4 or 5 hours, like in the cold, queuing. It started raining. We weren't allowed to bring any +1s, so I had to ask members of the public to take photos for me. And then I took some photos and it wasn't exactly what they wanted. And it was just one thing after another. And then I was in the taxi on the way home and they said, oh, can you send over the content? Now, normally I like to get home, like have a cup of tea, have a cup of hot chocolate and go through all of my content and edit them. And the videos, I like to edit them together, make them look pretty, put some nice text, some nice music. And yeah, literally 5 minutes after I left, they were like, you need to post now. And I was like, okay, so I've not left, I'm still in the car park. Like, I'm on the other end of the car park here. And I thought, right, okay. The amount of stress is incredible. I thrive under stress. I really enjoy it. But sometimes with these campaigns, when you have a 24-hour turnaround or then a 5-minute turnaround, that is why influencers get paid what they get paid. And I think people don't understand that. Like, if it was just, oh, take a photo and post, that's fine. But it isn't. And when it's a paid advertorial campaign, there's always different ranks of approval, sending backwards and forwards, different time zones. There's so many different things to think about.
But there's a massive gap in education, full stop. I mean, it's absolutely huge, I think. One of the things I've noticed is a lot of influencer content creators are multi-talented, multi-skilled. So they are website builders, they are email drivers, they have huge audiences, they are photographers, they're videographers, they're script writers. So if you start, I've written a blog post about this actually, if you started to look at the hourly rate of all those people and then combine them in one person, you'd start to realize that actually an influencer is worth their weight in gold and some. So I genuinely think, from what I've seen, there are a lot of influencers that undervalue themselves through ignorance or through that they're just not realizing what they're putting in place.
Exactly. As I said, I was one of them, and that was just through the industry kind of telling you that you're not worth that. But what you've just said is so true. And as I said, it's a realization I had last week. I thought, hold on. So let's say that Volvo want to run a TV commercial. So it's a one-day shoot. They would have to get a videographer, a director, a producer. They'd have to get actors, makeup artists, editors, lighting, sound. Which is why I think for acting in commercials, you can get between like £5,000 and £100,000 just as an actor. So imagine how much that actually costs. We're probably looking like £100,000 minimum for a TV commercial. An influencer is a one-stop shop for all of that. We're directors and producers and script writers and editors and everything in one person. And what you've just said, I love that you said that, because to hear a non-content creator say that makes me so happy, because this is how I've started to see myself. I am a one-stop shop that does all of these things. And I think that was the issue with undervaluing. We just don't realize it.
You don't. And also, I think the other exciting thing is you can turn stuff around super quick. If you think about some of the big advertising campaigns that are planned weeks in advance, they're involved in the creative process a lot sooner. You can turn campaigns around super quick. Or indeed, even when a campaign's running, you can alternate it. So you could start with one post and realize, actually, we could pivot slightly and do something slightly different on the second one. But if you think about printed media, you think about out of home and bus shelters. Once that's gone, it's gone.
Yeah, you can't. It's not like you can change it back for a little tweak in the
Exactly. So that's good. One of the other things that I think has been super interesting is the growth in e-commerce and the relationship between affiliate marketing and influencer marketing. I mean, sites like Reward Style, which you probably know, have been hugely successful, and other sort of affiliate brands where influencers are driving huge sales by not only offering a discount to their followers, but obviously earning a commission on the back of that. Do you think that more and more brands, and particularly up-and-coming and new brands, should look at influencer marketing to not just create brand awareness, but actually drive sales?
Yeah, 100%. I think affiliate marketing whoever invented it is very, very intelligent. There isn't a day that goes by where I'm on Instagram and I don't see something #affiliate. And I think it's such a nice way of doing things because the brand doesn't necessarily have to pay you X amount for a post. And as we've been saying, it's authentic and it's organic because it's products that they're wearing themselves and they want to wear and they're promoting it to you. But often you'll see the same product worn again and again and again. Maybe it's an Instagram post, a story, a Facebook post. And whenever I see an affiliate link, a part of me thinks, actually, if I was interested in this particular type of item and I saw it in a sponsored post that had been paid for or an affiliate link, perhaps I'd be more tempted to buy it through an affiliate link. That's just for fashion. For other brands, I think I'd probably go for the post because normally there's more information. But yeah, I think it's something that a lot of brands are jumping on, especially emerging brands. And I would definitely suggest it. I think influencer marketing is a place where a lot of brands see as being a bit of a gray area just because they don't understand, which it's not their fault. It's just because it's not like you can take classes in it at school or at university. You know, it's such a new thing. And I think brands should take the risk. They should jump. They should just try it. Perhaps affiliate marketing is the best way to start so that they don't have to spend some of their budget. And then once they've kind of dipped the toe in the water, then try sponsored campaigns and see what works best for them because every brand's different. But I definitely do think there is some pillar in influencer marketing that could work for every brand on the planet.
And so what have you found from the platform side that has been your most successful? I'm guessing YouTube would be right up there, but you mentioned TikTok as well.
Yeah, so YouTube is actually my smallest following. I think I've got 119,000 on YouTube, which is my smallest. Facebook's my biggest. So my Facebook page has got 1.4 million. My profile's 500,000. Snapchat's about 100,000. TikTok 288,000. You're quizzing me now. Instagram about 370,000, I think. So yeah, YouTube's probably my smallest just because the majority of what I do is comedy, which is normally like 1 to 3 minute comedy sketches, and YouTube is a lot more long form content. So for me, I just prefer using the other platforms. With regards to brand deals, I think I'd have to say visually the best for me where I look at them and I think, oh, that's performed really, really well. It's kind of a draw between Instagram, Facebook and TikTok. So I only started properly on TikTok a year ago. But in that year, as I was saying with the Thailand campaign, like for this video to get 3.2 million views, like that's a lot of eyeballs. It was like a traditional Thai fire massage. So it's like eyeballs on this beautiful tradition that they have over there, which people probably haven't seen before, but also kind of driving traffic to travel, you know. And I think the hashtags were like amazing Thailand and something else. And I remember the brand reaching out afterwards and they were like, we're so pleased with this. Like we never expected to get this many views. And there was another one, I think, that had over 1 million as well. And I think Instagram, it's tougher to get as much reach. On Instagram, for example, TikTok, you could have 10,000 followers. And if a video went, I don't like the V word, but if the video went viral, it could easily get 1 million views. Whereas on Instagram, if you have 1 million followers, because Instagram don't push your post to all of the people that follow you, it's unlikely you'd ever get 1 million likes on a post, right? So it's tougher on Instagram, but I think it's more visually aesthetic for brands because it's a photo sharing platform, not video sharing. However, on Facebook as well, I have to say I've done a lot of comedy sketch brand deals, which is what Instagram's more fashion, I've noticed, lifestyle, film. TikTok's a bit of everything, but the comedy sketches does tend to be more on Facebook. And again, I think there's probably 4 or 5 that I've done over the last year with over 1 million views, which is, to me, I'm so proud of that for a brand to be able to say, hey, look, I made this baby for you. It's got 1 million views. This is amazing. And it's always so nice. My favorite thing about a brand deal is like the communication afterwards, once you've posted, being like, okay, are you happy? What do you think? And getting their feedback and you giving them your feedback. And yeah, I just think this is kind of going on to another point, but I think long-term collaborations are so important. And I always try to over-deliver. Not just the first time that I work with people, but I just think generally, especially if it's a brand that they really respect you and they're giving you creative control, I want to do the best that I can for them. So I'd say personally, I think Facebook, Instagram and TikTok probably for the best performing brand deals.
And just what about Snapchat? Because Snapchat is still there, but I know it doesn't get the same level of attention, and it's got largely a younger audience, hasn't it?
Yes, it has.
Have you done any campaigns on Snapchat?
Yeah, oh my goodness, so many. So okay, I couldn't count. So with Snapchat, I always kind of forget about them because they're so simple. Like Snapchat campaigns are the easiest thing in the world in the sense that a brand will say, okay, here's what we want you to say. Here are a few key points. Just do like 3 stories, which is 30 seconds, but in your own voice. So again, I keep saying it, but creative control. It's very rare that for Snapchat, you'll get a script because I talk very quickly. So if you give me like a 5-page script, I will whip through that. But most people might get through a paragraph, say. But yeah, I really, really like story campaigns. That's something I really like. One, because you can put swipe up links, whereas in some posts you can't. And two, I just think it's nicer because people can personally message you about it. So when I put, say, a campaign on my Instagram post, if it's something, I work a lot with charities, and say if it's something about mental health, sometimes people won't feel comfortable commenting, perhaps if they're going through something. Whereas if it's on a story and I'm like, oh, here's a swipe up link to donate or to learn more, like I did something with Alzheimer's recently. And I was like, my grandmother died of Alzheimer's, it was a really sad time, but I wish that I knew more to help her. Here's a swipe up link. The amount of messages through Snapchat that I got, it gives me goosebumps of people saying, I didn't realize, like, if you catch it early enough, you can kind of slow the process and this, and this. And it just warmed my heart. And I was like, you wouldn't get the same response from like a YouTube video, something where all of the comments are public. So I definitely think there's pros and cons to each platform. But yeah, I love doing Snapchat campaigns. I'd say generally for everyone, I think Snapchat campaigns have slowed down over the last year because there was a massive boom and everyone was using it. And I heard recently, which surprised me. So what's your main form of communication? For me, it's probably WhatsApp and Messenger. What would you personally use? What do you prefer?
Me, WhatsApp. I would say WhatsApp, mostly.
Right. So I thought, everyone uses WhatsApp. Apparently, 13 to 17-year-olds, their main form of communication is Snapchat Messenger. I was like, okay, that's a bit strange. So I feel like it's moved from being a social media platform into being like WhatsApp and more of a messenger platform. And I was reading some analytics the other day, and it was saying from like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, the amount of videos from those platforms that are shared through WhatsApp, and a lot of the time that's how they get their virality, because people are sharing them amongst little groups. And obviously, like on Snapchat Messenger, that's the exact same. So I would say there's been less brand campaigns. I like it though, because I feel like now the campaigns that come through, I can really, really think, okay, so I haven't done one in a month now. Let's really focus. How do I want to make this different? And probably because I am doing less brand campaigns, I feel like people are responding to them better in a way, as in people have always been positive because I'm always very transparent about everything. But now they're like, oh, another brand deal. Okay, what's this one for? Because they know I only pick the ones that I really like. So it has definitely changed as a platform. I don't think it will ever die out completely. I think it's just changed from having an older demographic to a younger one, which is kind of the opposite of TikTok. Because when TikTok was Musical.ly, they've literally gone in opposite directions. The main audience of TikTok was 13 to 17. And now that's bumped up in its 20s. It's just swings and roundabouts. I think a lot of platforms are going to go through that. But yeah, thinking about it, Snapchat and TikTok have literally done the complete opposite, which is a bit strange.
So sort of to finish then, what would be your defining tips for an up-and-coming influencer that is entering the space? Has probably got a bit of an audience, maybe 10,000 followers or something. What would you be saying to them right now?
Okay, so if I try and narrow it down to three, I would say the first one is be consistent, especially when you're starting out. I think people make the mistake of thinking, I can post once a month and build an audience. Well, you can, but it's going to take much longer. Whereas if you're posting, say, 3-4 times a week, even daily, you're constantly out there. And that's on a daily basis that you have these opportunities to build a new following. So I'd say consistency is very important. As you grow your following, I think you can be a bit more lenient. So for example, when I was first starting out, I was posting literally on a daily basis or weekly. And now, because kind of through the influencer side, I've begun presenting and acting as well. There's different things that take up your time, and naturally people expect you to be posting less. But when you start out, I think that's incredibly important. We did speak a little bit about this earlier, and I know I'm an anomaly, but definitely finding a niche. When you're starting, very important. Even say if you're torn between a couple of different things, just don't think, right, I want to be an influencer. And I don't know what genre, but I'm just going to influence people. You need to niche down, because the thing is, your followers will become, they're passionate about different niches. So say, for example, you want to do gaming. As soon as you start doing gaming videos, you're going to meet like-minded people, and they will love, exactly as I said earlier, they will follow you for your gaming content and then grow to love you and then just follow you for you. Whereas if you do lots of different niches, it's a little bit confusing. So say if you did, let me pick a random combination here, gaming, dance, and travel. That's a bit random. So if, say, you thought, right, I want to do those 3 things, not really much correlation between them, you're going to have a gaming audience that when you post a travel video, they're not going to know what's going on. When you post a dance video, they'll just be thinking, okay, well, I'm waiting for the next gaming video. And that results in less engagement. You might even lose followers. And I think it's just a bit confusing for your audience not knowing what you want to do. So if you can stick to 1 or 2, so even like fashion and beauty go so well together, like fashion, beauty, lifestyle. I always think, to me, it is kind of one big umbrella niche with the little mini niches in between. So like, that's fine. But if you're stuck between two opposite directions, I'd say try and stick to one first. And then if that doesn't work, then maybe try another one, but don't spread yourself too thin just because it can be very, very confusing to people watching.
That's it for another edition of Influence. Please don't forget to subscribe and let us have your feedback to our email, feedback@influencepodcast.net. Or you can go onto the BCMA website at www.thebcma.info. You can also send me a message on my Instagram too, which is Gordon Glenister. And if you feel like it, it would be great if you could leave us a 5-star review. That would be awesome because it really does help us. Thanks also to my producer, Neil Whiteside of Freedom One. So until next time, from me, Gordon Glenister, bye for now.